Good morning here on KM Activities, your home for the KoMets. I'm Joel McCall. We're going to be visiting with Joel Swanson, head coach for the Castlemareville football team. They have their section final coming up on Tuesday. They'll be hosting Byron. First of all, Coach, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, KoMets finished 4-1 in the regular season, wrapped things up with Winona last week, last Wednesday. Another great game. I look back at the last two wins that the KoMets had, and really it was all about the start. Coach, you win the turnover battle, which we've talked about numerous times throughout the season, but also getting off to a good start. In both games, you guys did that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we just talked about, after our game up with Albany, how important it was to be focused in the beginning and how to maybe create some of our own breaks, create some of our own turnovers and things. And I think the guys have responded to that.
What did you feel about Winona and their offense? Because this was the first time since really New Prague that your secondary was challenged, and they were up for the challenge and got a couple of picks out of it.
Well, I think their coaching staff does a good job. They lost a lot of people from years past, and they attacked some areas that we were giving up to people and things, and so that's a credit to them. And we had to make some adjustments. But like you said, a lot of our picks were our line was not rushing up and giving them a throwing lane, so to speak. The guys inviting them up the field to give this big throwing lane to the quarterback, and so our guy had the discipline to sit in there, and then he got his hands up, and that's what we talk about, just being as good. And we got two big tip balls for interceptions.
Yeah, you sure did. And again, maybe not the sacks, but you're still getting turnovers off of guys getting their hands up. And then we look at your offense. You get a touchdown off of Tucker. You get and then Donovan hitting Bigelow. That was their first connection for a touchdown all season, which was very surprising to know that stat, considering Bigelow has been open on the outside. He's had some big catches, just hasn't scored. And those two hooking up, that was a big play.
Well, those two guys worked hard all summer, getting together, playing catch, doing those exact same plays. We do it all the time out in practice, and it's just really starting to click for him. You'll see a lot of times the one thinks he's going to go branching off on this route or the other route, and it'll look like it's completely off course, and it's just one read it one way and one read it the other way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and Donovan as a quarterback has grown immensely throughout the season. We've watched that nice progression that he's had, and especially with the option and taking it and then pitching it. And he's just done a marvelous job with his choices.
Yeah, well, he's definitely a student of the game, and he wants to learn more about it and stuff. And when mistakes happen, he looks at himself first. It's kind of like the game goes at a slower motion for him now. Now he's nice and relaxed and calm about it. He's paid his dues. He knows what he's looking for, so to speak, and stuff. And I think the whole challenge that the Albany team brought forth, where they had all kinds of stunts and things and guys all over the place and stuff, that all helps in this progression too. And so I really believe that like I say, he's a calming force on the team. And for him, everything's kind of going at a slower speed than it would normally for a lot of people.
Well, we've talked this season about your wingbacks too, and it was nice to see a guy like Buchanan able to bounce to the outside against Winona and get a touchdown too, because those are some of those plays on the outside that the KoMets haven't been hitting as much as far as the big plays, where it's been Tucker and Kennedy gaining those big yards.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Coach Donovan, offensive coordinator, and I were just talking about the fact that when we look back at most of our big plays from the previous year, sure, there were a couple for, let's say, Cade Spreiter busting loose and Peyton Wilkie, but really Easton Knoll during the last 6 or 7 games of the year had something like 10 30-yard plays, whether it be running the ball or catching passes. And we just didn't realize how often that really happened last year and stuff. And we've missed that a little bit, but we've been a little more consistent on offense.
Well, and it was nice to talk about a lot of your seniors. And we just mentioned with Jay Bigelow scoring, Kennedy scoring his first touchdown of the season. You had, I think it's 12, if I remember correctly, after I counted them up. You'll probably know better than I do, but you can really speak to this senior group and what they've meant. I can run through them if you want, Coach, or you could just kind of talk about them as a whole.
Well, I think the big thing is they've just kind of, for the most part, they've all kind of stuck together through things coming all the way through ninth grade. It's pretty much the same guys. They've accepted different roles and responsibilities. When you think back to the positions they played in ninth grade and how they've progressed to different things as they've become seniors. And some of them are like even to this point are still accepting multiple roles within the team. And so it's great to see. And what's really positive is seeing how many different guys really understand the game instead of like memorizing a job and stuff, because things are changing all the time out there. Whether you're an offensive lineman, they're never in the front. Sometimes they switch the front while you're getting ready to run the play and stuff. And the same's true for defense. I mean, they never hardly ever come out in the exact same thing, and being able to take charge and change things out on the field. So they've been a great group overall. Same's true for the guys that don't get to see the field as much and play special teams, because they have to give us those looks all the time out in practice. And then to be the guy that's the next guy up at a position and to hang in there and keep working at it, it's all a valuable part of the team, and you can't take any of it for granted.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you talk about special teams. I think Aiden Hugeback got a tackle on special teams last week for senior night. Logan Leth is another guy that probably doesn't get enough love. Caleb Wright, and then I'm just going to mention Logan Lowers too, because he's on the offensive line, and some of those guys just don't quite get the highlights that they probably deserve. And well, the highlight, obviously, of the season was probably beating Byron a couple weeks ago. And here you are now hosting them for the section final. The playoffs are going to be totally different than the seasons past. There's no eliminations. There's no semifinals. There's no quarterfinals. And there's no state tournament. It's only this game. So I think you guys, one, it's fantastic that you're getting a game out of everything, because we've seen and we're knowing what other schools are doing here in the last couple weeks. That being said, Byron is another one that's going to distance learning, I think, after this week. So you get a chance to play the Bears one more time. It's a rivalry game. It was a lot of fun to call the last time you guys met up. I expect nothing less than a hard-hitting, physical battle, and probably one that's going to be won in the trenches, and who gets a good start.
Well, and we have respect for their coaching staff and the things they do there. Yeah, and when you're only 5-6 miles away from each other, a lot of friendships, a lot of rivalries there in between. Yeah, and the whole thing is on defense, I know we have to neutralize their big play capability. They've busted loose big play after big play throughout the year. So if you let your guard down and the turnover ratio goes the other way, it could easily be flipped. We got to be ready from the start. If we think they're just gonna lay down for us, we're completely wrong. In a rivalry thing, this is probably exactly what they wanted. Right after that game, they're huddled up, they're talking about, we just want this opportunity to come back and stuff. And so we've got to be ready from the get-go, and we've got to play one of our best games of the year to come out on top.
Well, I'll definitely highlight both middle linebackers, because they have a good one in Jake Broughton too. And him and Kennedy, I think, must have had 15 tackles between the two of them the last time these two teams met. So those are the guys that I would really watch out for too on the defensive side, just because we're going to be calling their names so often. And the game is on Tuesday, 7 o'clock. It's at KM Telecom Stadium. We'll be covering the whole thing. You get to even see the video, which is not always allowed during sections, but they're doing that this year because of the limited spectators in the stands. So it should be a great game. Really looking forward to it, Coach.
Yeah, us too. Hopefully we can get it in. Still a day and a half to wait and see, and hopefully everybody can stay safe throughout this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we thank you, Coach, for joining me this morning. And don't forget that we do have volleyball coming up at 5 o'clock tonight. So not 7, but 5, the number 1 team in Class A and the 2-time defending champions come down. Minneota, the Vikings, will be playing the Casamareville Comets tonight. Thanks again, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you. Good luck to the volleyball team and stay safe, everyone.
Sounds good. Thank you again for tuning in here on KM Activities, your home for the Comets.